Get ready for the return.
Yeah.
This episode of Getting Tabled is proudly sponsored by Valhalla Hobby. If you check out valhallahobby.com and use the code TABLED, you get 5% off your first order over $100. Thank you to our tablers for choosing to support us. Consider joining them. For $2 a month, you get early access to all of the video content that we make, as well as certain behind-the-scenes things when they're required or when they happen. We would very much appreciate you joining us, and we appreciate everybody that chooses to support us. And now, let's get ready for the return of Getting Tabled.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yang,
I hope you're all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, folks. Welcome to episode 178 of Getting Tabled. I'm your host, Jason the Bruce, and we have no George because he smells funny. But we do have the one person everybody wants to hear from, but he never wants to talk, so it doesn't matter.
It's true.
Major Socks!
But this time I actually might talk more this time.
You might this time.
I have stuff to talk about besides just Dystopian Wars. There's other fun stuff that's on there that I'm interested in. So,
Ooh.
yeah, George is lost in Wyoming.
Deliberately, I think. I think he just didn't want to spend time with us.
Yeah, probably.
Side note. Thank you for everybody that understood that we took a break last weekend. Ironically, and this is leading somewhere, Socks probably has an idea of where this is leading. Slightly off topic, I'm going to be somewhat vague for a moment. It's probably just as well that we organised to take that episode off, given what ended up happening that weekend. Because we pretty much would have ended up having no episode with no notice otherwise. I want to give a huge thank you to our patrons, because there was 3 or 4 videos that went out on our Patreon, like just raw, unedited videos of me just explaining the situation that I was in. I had a bit of a health crisis with my mother. We came very close to losing her. It was not a good, let's say, week. I mean, she was in hospital for longer than that, but it was the better part of a week where I really wasn't in a very good state. This all happened the day before we would have normally been recording, but it just so happened like that was the weekend we took off. The reason for the break was because I had asked to have the episode off, but because it was also Valentine's Day, which, to be fair, I wasn't thinking about because I'm single. Well, I am.
George and I had other plans, somewhat, and then you were supposed to be out.
I don't know if it's so much that you had other plans, as that you didn't want to necessarily commit to having to say no to. I mean, because at that point you're giving away your Valentine, because it's the day after Valentine's for me, but it was Valentine's Day night for you two. So I put a post out with a bit of a gag about how we were all spending time with our loved ones. You with your wife, George with his girlfriend, and me with my bike.
Yes.
Sasha tried to treat me very well. I did actually go out for the ride, but I didn't do all the ride. I ended up going home.
Yeah.
So
but
apologies for being
we appreciate
vague.
You all.
The reason I'm being vague is because people don't want to have the downer. So we are going to move on to the news.
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
And we are starting with a story that this broke the day. Well, I don't know about it broke, but this got teased the day after we recorded. And George kind of shared it like, you're going to have opinions of this, Jason. And I didn't even really look at it at first. It took a couple of days before I bothered, because I was kind of elsewhere. Not for that reason. I was kind of busy. And then I opened it and I'm like, really? So I originally put up a headline for this saying corruption continues. So, which I don't entirely feel is fair, but I will explain why I'm saying that in a moment. So, Zombicide is no longer owned by Simon. They sold this property to Asmodee. Arguably, the second most rich board game developer on the planet.
Conglomerate board game owner.
But I quite literally mean that. They are a company that fund other people most of the time.
Yep.
I could be wrong, but I think this might be the first time they have themselves done crowdfunding.
I can't think of another time, so you might be right.
Yeah. I could be wrong, and obviously feel free to correct me in the comments if I am.
Yeah.
Look, I get it. Zombicide is the crowdfunding board game. Like, it's the most successful, long-running crowdfunding project they've ever had. And hey, look, it's a pirate-themed one. What a great idea. But at the same time, this is
deep as your pocketbooks are as Asmodee?
Well, it's an extremely successful retail product. I have been making this argument for 5 years. Zombicide has no place on crowdfunding. The fact that it continues to just stroll through and ruin a lot of projects in the process, because there's a lot of small companies that don't get funded as a result of these campaigns.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that this is going to be successful. I mean, there are going to be some people that are skeptical of it, the fact that it's Asmodee doing this. In saying that, there's also probably a lot of people that won't even recognize that Asmodee isn't Simon.
Although, to say that, we're just in a campaign preview right now, and almost 17,000 people are following the preview right now.
Yeah.
So who knows? This could be very successful.
Yeah. Look,
and like you said, a lot of people may not be aware.
The crowdfunding bubble is very much on the brink of collapse at this stage. Campaigns like this are not going to help that situation. Now, granted, I have a selfish reason for being upset at this. Granted, none of that has to do with the fact that I'm about to launch a project. Entropy City is nowhere near that. But if crowdfunding collapses, Entropy City doesn't happen.
And a lot of other games don't happen.
Well, unless I can sell it to somebody, which is a big if.
You're right.
I mean, that's always a possibility, obviously. I mean,
yeah,
I may get to a point where I'm like, hey, are you interested in this? Well, we'll buy it. And then I lose control of it. That's obviously not what I want after all the work I've put into it. But that is kind of what happens in this industry most of the time, is you build something and then sell it. That is what crowdfunding kind of got away from.
Yeah.
But look, I'm sorry, this is Asmodee crowdfunding it. Like, they have absolutely no business being on crowdfunding. Absolutely no business at all. Is it a free market? Can they do it? Sure, they're not doing anything wrong. But this is just really, really dense.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure, for business it's great. They don't have to take risks. They've just put all of this money into buying the game off Simon to help Simon stay afloat. But look, at this, like, you don't get to use this as a free pass. This is just, like, to me, this is corruption. Again, I get that they're allowed to do it. Can you see that I'm anticipating hate over this comment?
Yeah.
It's probably worth noting, George disagrees with me on this. He doesn't necessarily believe that it's all well and good, but he doesn't agree with me on it being corrupt. He doesn't agree with me at all on that. And that's fine. Different opinions is kind of the delight of podcasting. But like, they are the most cash-rich... Well, they are one of the top cash-rich board game companies on the planet. They own most of the board gaming industry. Atomic Mass Games, for example, I used to think they had a hand in the CMON pie, but apparently that was wrong. So I don't know where I got that idea from. But like legitimately, they own most of the board gaming industry.
Go look on their website and you'll see just about every single company. Ravensburger. I could look at my game shelves and pick out 5 or 6 of their publishers that are all probably owned by Asmodee.
Yeah. They have no business being on crowdfunding. None at all. I find the fact that they are trying this disgusting. And the fact that I can guarantee you this, that it will be successful and it will fund without them even really making an effort to fund it, is only going to upset me more. Because it's just going to prove that people are just going to support this industry until it collapses. And make no mistake, when crowdfunding falls over, and it is a when at this point, not an if, when crowdfunding falls over, the board game industry crashes and burns. I'm not saying it will be dead forever, but it's going to collapse very badly. And there's going to be a lot of people out of pocket. And it's not just board games, it's miniature games and card games that'll be affected as well. I will get off my high horse now. But I don't know, like, have you played Zombicide? Like, it is a really good game.
It's a fun game. It's a great game. My one of my buddies that I used to be stationed with, he had a huge chunk of the original stuff, so we would go over and play with him. Yeah, it's a fun game.
If this wasn't on crowdfunding, I'm not going to rant again. If this wasn't on crowdfunding, I probably would be tempted. Because I own an expansion for one of them. Because I kind of bought that thinking that I could play it with my friends, but they don't play the edition that's compatible with. Mm-hmm. They've said they'll dig it back out again at some point. I bought the Monty Python box because Monty Python.
Nice.
But like Pirates are fun, right? I mean, this would be an easy buy-in. It could be my addition to doing it, and we could play my version a couple of times. And hopefully I buy it and nobody else does. But I'm not crowdfunding this. No way. It's a really fun concept. And it's probably the only one that CMON haven't done yet. Like, Zombicide has pretty much been crowdfunded to death at this point, right? Pun is intended. Mm-hmm. Like, they've done fantasy, they've done modern day. I mean, I don't know if they've done a sci-fi one. I mean, they might have done.
I'm trying to remember. There's so many of them out there.
And what they haven't done, other people have done by ripping them off. Because make no mistake, there's a lot of Zombicide rip-offs. Not just from CMON, but from everybody else as well. I mean, quite famously, very early on in the Zombicide days, there was a company that did a whole series of Ghostbusters board games. That was essentially Zombicide, but a little bit simplified. I don't mean that as a criticism. It's just that you didn't level up quite as much in the Ghostbusters game as you could in this. It kind of only went so far. And I bought the first one, but not the second one. But it's been done. I don't know how much further you can go with this now.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it's on crowdfunding, because, hey, there's not really much else we have an excuse to crowdfund. It's just printing money at this point, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, agreed.
Look, zombie pirates, yay. Sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it looks intriguing.
Yep. All right. We had a preview come up for... who's this? War Games Atlantic. And we got actually quite a few things coming for this. We got a Baron's War box set that's coming. 44 multi-part kits. I mean, these are all hard plastic as usual. Looks like a fairly decent fantasy-sized... I mean, it's for the Baron's War, but there's nothing that says that you couldn't use that for every other fantasy game with humans in it that exists.
Yeah.
obviously these are just previews, so we don't really see all the details and stuff. There's also this Deathfields box, which kind of feels like an army in a box, really. So this appears to be their version of Chaos, or at least a section of it. I mean, it's good alternative models for 40k, but I'm also thinking, again, pretty much any sci-fi on the planet. Like the Chaos cultists from a sci-fi world. It's a really easy decision, right? Also on the Deathfields line, we have the Damned Mauler, which is probably the only one I'm looking at and going, I don't get it. I mean, they've made it generic enough that it can kind of fit with everything, but nothing really feels damned about this. Which I guess is the point. But generally speaking, if you're going to build something for Chaos, most people will convert it themselves anyway. And if they make it generic, then you can kind of use it for anything you want, I guess. It doesn't have to be a damned vehicle. It can be just a regular one. I like the fact that they've designed it so that you can either have it as a transport or as a gun truck. That is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Six-wheel is kind of cool as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like the look of it. I don't know. Why label
One
it
flaw
as
in the
something...
design of the gun truck is you wouldn't have that railing around the gun.
No, because you just shoot into it.
Yep.
But I guess in saying that, it also kind of means that you could dress it up as like a cargo thing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, these are all going to be optional parts. Like, there's no way that railing is something that has to be... I mean, even if it was in one piece like that, which it can't be, because that's not how casting works, or sprues for that matter, there would be nothing that says that you couldn't just snip that off if you really wanted to.
Agreed.
I mean, what they've done here is they're showing off two versions of the gun, but they've essentially designed a vehicle that you could buy at least 3 of and not realize they're the same kit. Ish. We have another box set coming up for World of Blaze, which is a Second World War set that they do. And this one...
French Resistance.
Yeah, it's some women for the Fresh Resistance, which is really nice. But you know what, like... World War II... Like, and we've all done, like... Americans do this all the time. This is not me hating on it. Let me finish. Australians do this all the time. The Britons are shocking for it. Like, the French gave in, waved the white flag, la da da. They're all cowards and which is just not like the French resistance is pretty much without question the most badass thing that happened in that war. There is arguments that could be made that without the French resistance, the war would never have been won.
D-Day probably wouldn't have happened as successfully as it did.
And quite frankly, if the French hadn't have given in at that point, France wouldn't exist. It's the only thing that saved them. Because they weren't ready. The only thing they could do is give in and then work behind the scenes. It was the only choice they had. But that's no fun. We've got to find a reason to pick on them, so let's pick on the French because they're cowards and they wave the white flag. I mean, to be fair, the Germans get it too because, you know, the Germans, although they are also one of Hitler's victims, they were on that time, so people just... It's kind of... It's weird. I mean, I get the whole history is written by the victors thing, but the way that we write history sometimes is so weird because it just ignores the facts so much.
But it's nice to see some of the resistance, especially the women's side, because you don't see that very often.
No, you really don't. And honestly, a really nice looking set. I like that they've kind of been painted up with like pastel type colors rather than, which kind of feels like, I don't know about true to life, but it kind of feels accurate for what you see portrayed.
Yeah.
And like all of those miniatures kind of, like they all kind of feel different. The hairstyles are not exaggerated. They all feel, it feels very authentic. Speaking of authentic, though,
Some Egyptians.
oh, I really like the idea of some Egyptians. I'd love some. I mean, are they the first to do Egyptians? No, of course they're not. It's one of the more popular historical ranges out there. I mean, it's either that or it's Romans. Like it's one or the other. Romans is probably number one, at least from this era, anyway.
Yeah.
But these look really nice. I mean, this is just a tease image, but the detail on these feels really good. They're also like, there's some of these sculpts that, like the second one from the left, that body is realistically like the same as the rest of the bodies, but because of the way that clothing's been done, he looks like he's a bigger gentleman.
Yes.
I mean, he's not, but it's just the way it looks because of the way it's been done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like it's a nice, because that's another thing that we don't get very often, right? Is like different styles of bodies, because if they don't all look the same, then they kind of, it's one of those things that you kind of like, if you want somebody that's a bit unique, you need to do the work yourself.
Yeah.
But it's a nice way around it. Also, at this point in history, it wouldn't be realistic to have a warrior that was that way anyway. I really like what this is teasing. It'll be interesting to see what happens of it.
Yeah.
Do you lean? I mean, I suspect that your preference would be the Second World War women.
That or the Baron War. They look pretty cool too.
Yeah. But they are really nice miniatures.
Yeah. I mean, it'd just be fun to have like a castle battle with them.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. Like again, like it's kind of like, it's one of those things. Like, I've never played the Barons' War. I've always heard that it's good, but it's not a part of history that I'm. It's just not really something I look at, and that's fine. It's just personal aesthetics. I'm not really a historical gamer person.
Yeah.
Despite having bought World War II models a couple
World War
of
II
recently.
I know. Shame on you. No, good for you.
For me, I think it's the partisans, the French resistance women.
The French resistance? Yeah.
Just purely because, and again, I'm not saying it's the first time anybody has done it. I know that other people have done this. You just don't see it very often.
Yep.
So, in saying, I mean, I do quite like all of them. I mean, even as much as I kind of said the tank looks very generic, and that's kind of but it's not bad. It's just, it feels very generic. It doesn't feel very damned, which is what they've called it. I kind of feel like they should have just called it the Mauler.
Yes.
Rather than the Damned, because there's nothing about it that feels like it's specifically for that army, because very clearly it's not specifically for that army. But that's just me. All right.
Warlord games?
Yep. Speaking of historical games,
We have the Soviet Navy.
yeah. So I've actually been looking at some bolt action stuff recently. Not for bolt action though. We'll talk about it a little bit more during hobby time, but I noticed that they were doing this, and you know what? Again, I realize this is not something that nobody else has done, but you don't see naval infantry very often.
No.
Largely because from a naval perspective, the interesting part of it is the ship-to-ship battle, which you wouldn't do in this scale because that's just ridiculous. I like the idea of this, though. Because, make no mistake, like, naval infantry did do combat. It's just not, like, especially from a Soviet perspective, like, the Soviets had to do everything anyway. But, like, naval infantry exists for a reason, because you know what happens if you end up right next to another boat? You can't really fire at them. They're right next to you. The explosion's going to hit you too. So, like, naval... Like, people don't think about that, but Navy people still need to know how to use a regular gun. It's just not their first and foremost thing, because there are other things that need to be done as well. It's just like
That's
nobody
what
ever
it is.
thinks about naval pilots.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the Air Force exists. Why would there be naval pilots? In some areas of the world, like helicopters, for example, tend to happen from the Navy more. I know that's not the case everywhere, but helicopters in some parts of the world is more of a naval thing than an Air Force thing. I don't know about the US. I think you're more a little bit of both, right?
So the Army actually has more helicopters than the Air Force and the Navy combined.
Actually, I'm forgetting about the giant whales that they fly around
Yeah.
that carry tanks and stuff. Anyway, like this is just like these models look really cool. I do notice one thing though. They say that it's a Soviet naval brigade from 2026, and that's clearly not the case. I'm being
Correct.
facetious. That's clearly the release date. But I couldn't help myself. I mean, you've got the regular one. These are in resin too, which I mentioned because I know not everybody's a fan of resin. The veterans, like they just kind of feel a little bit older, which is what you would expect. The brigade's quite nice. I really like the machine gun team personally, but I think just the regular troops is my favorite part of this. I don't know. It's just, again, like I realize they're not the first people to do it, but I like seeing people doing something that's just a little bit out of the ordinary.
Yeah. And I think the reason why they're going to be doing them in resin is because this may not be the most popular sit out there, and so
Yep.
Why do hard plastics when you may only sell
Yeah.
one or two of
It's-
these every so often?
Yeah, it's just not going to be worth it. Yeah, because like again, like when people think of World War II, most people forget that the Pacific happened, especially in England, because they weren't. Yeah, I know that you know about it. We've had this conversation before. Like the Pacific was a huge part of World War II, but
Yeah.
England forget about it because they didn't take part in it. For England, the war ended when Hitler was done.
Yeah.
But it continued for what, 6 months, 12 months after that?
About 6.
About 6 months. And because Australia had I'm going to say Australia because we took the biggest part of this. Australia took Tobruk down in Africa. Granted, I realised that it wasn't just us, but it was largely us that took the rats of Tobruk. And then most of those troops ended up being the ones that did the Kokoda Trail and stuff up the Pacific. Along with, obviously, the US troops. Where did because you didn't do the Kokoda Trail, you did the sea and met us about halfway or something, right? Because we were island hopping on the way up and you met us halfway or something?
From pretty much Gibraltar, Guadalcanal is kind of the furthest southeast. Some of the Solomon Islands. That's kind of where we kind of met you guys, and then we started moving.
That makes sense, yeah. Because, like, obviously we've started in Papua New Guinea and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, again, is another part of things that people forget. The island nations took part in this as well, and they get no credit in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Welcome to this historical gaming war.
I know, right?
Let's talk about history.
Top gaming history.
Yeah,
that's right.
But it's just
this
it's
next
cool
one we
to
don't have
see.
history.
No, that is
kind
true.
of fantasy, sci-fi.
Yep. So
alternate history. The Totenrot.
Oh, yep. I skipped over it. Oops. So this is a new army that's coming out for Conflict 47. Yeah.
The Germans.
It's an expansion on the Germans that arachnophobes are going to love.
And
seems to be it's very zombies, yeah. But I mean, it's zombies with a spider tank. I quite like the zombies. I mean, World War II German zombies is certainly not a new thing. I mean, it's probably an old stereotype at this point. Wolfenstein is one of the oldest 3D game. Well, it is the oldest 3D game out there, as far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, but this is going back to the days of Dust Tactics, because they had zombies in their German army too, and so.
I mean, it comes from Wolfenstein at the end of the day. Like that is
You're
where
right.
that stereotype
No,
starts.
you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't think they were in the original. I think it was in the sequels later on where that started.
Yeah, I would agree. I think you're right. But either way, these kind of mechish spider-looking machines are pretty cool looking, and then you have a whole variety of zombie scopes. One guy, a couple guys just laying on the ground.
Yep. A couple of regular troops with gas masks trying to, I guess, avoid being infected by whatever's turned the zombies. I mean, I'm kind of guessing here, but...
Or they're the leaders of the squad and they're trying to ferry their menacing troops forward. Either one.
One of them seems to have a night scope, which is interesting. Because it's a night scope on an AK-47. Well, not an AK-47, whatever the German equivalent is.
This STG-44.
Oh, yeah, yes, of course it is.
I only know that from my bolt action days.
I should have known that from Sniper Elite. I quite like the decal sheet. Because, I mean, it's not World War II. It's an expansion on it, right? So you would expect that the symbology would have moved a little bit. And because I didn't play the original, so I this could all be old stuff. And it's one of those things, right, where it's like how accurate do you want to be before it becomes problematic? And yes, I realize there's another side to that, because yes, historical accuracy is historical accuracy, but this isn't history.
Yeah.
So, to the point where it's not even the Iron Cross. They've changed it that much. It's still very clearly inspired by it.
Yeah.
I think this is a really nice looking box.
Mm-hmm.
I've no idea how it plays because I don't play it, but I think this box looks awesome. It's a mixture of resin and plastic, apparently.
So from what I understand, I haven't played the game either, but from what I understand, it has very similar characteristics to bolt action in some
That's
aspects.
my understanding
in the way
as well.
You're pulling dice still, but then some of the weapon mechanics and stuff like that are going to be a little different because of some of the sci-fi technology that they've brought into the game. But you can use your bolt action stuff and cross it over into Conflict 47. I do know that some of your stuff is cross-compatible between the two games,
which makes sense. I would guess that the resin part of this would be the tank or the spider tank thing. That would be my guess. I mean, I say it's a spider tank. It's probably more of a crab, right? Because it's only got 6 limbs. But it's very arachnophobic with the way that body is designed.
Yes.
Look, I won't lie. There was part of me that was very tempted by this game at one point, just because it's so different. But I don't need more games, and I don't do mass battle games anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see that this is continuing on. Because the first edition of Conflict 47, whilst popular, kind of felt like it never really went anywhere. It was kind of like, hey, this is out, and then people played it, and then it was like nothing really happened for a while. But moving on, we've spoken about Dreadball before, long time ago. I mean, Dreadball is one of the earliest massive hits for Mantic games. There's going to be a section of the audience that's going to go like, oh, they're only doing this because Blood Bowl is so popular. Especially given that they've also got the creator of Blood Bowl working on this. But the thing is, Mantic did this before Blood Bowl came back. And many years before it came back. Like before it was even rumoured of coming back. This is a game that's been around so long that it hasn't had a release that long that people question if the game was done. It's kind of like it's more board game than war game because, you know, like Blood Bowl is more board game than war game. the fact that they've got Jervis Johnson being the one that's working on this time is a very big deal. It's Jervis Johnson. He's a legend in this industry. Alessio Cavatore as well. I didn't notice that. So this appears to be like it's a reinvigoration of the game. They're redoing it because it kind of like it kind of got played out to the point of like being played to death. And it seems like they're trying to streamline it and then redo it. It kind of feels like it's a smaller game. It still has the hex-based tiles. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. I'm genuinely tempted by this. Largely because Dreadball's been a game that's been tempting me since it came out. But I've never really known anybody else that played it locally, because I asked the wrong people. I actually know lots of people that used to play it, I just never asked them. Because anytime I'd ask my friends, it'd be, oh yeah, but we kind of want to play Blood Bowl. Which, at that stage, I wasn't... Because Blood Bowl's one of those games that you need to be in the mood to play Blood Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
The miniatures for this were very board game miniature as well, and it was like budget board game miniature, because this is early Mantic, when everything they did was aimed at the budget end of the audience, which they got a lot of flack for, but that was the audience they were going for. They weren't trying to be Games Workshop at that point. And they haven't been that company now for a long time. So it's going to be interesting to see what the miniatures for this end up looking like. Because, I mean, yes, there's miniatures here, but these are also most likely prototypes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to know, because I don't, unless it's in this interview here, which I haven't watched, I'm interested to know what sort of material they're going to be making those miniatures from. I'd be surprised if it's hard plastic, but I'd like it to be something along the lines of what Worms was, what CMON tend to do, like the higher quality board game minis. That's what I'm hoping that we're getting. Yeah. I'm genuinely tempted by this. I guess we will see. It's going to Kickstarter in about a week, I think. There is a date on here somewhere.
I think it said March 17th. March 17th.
Yeah.
So about 2.5 weeks.
So by this time next episode, we will be able to look at the campaign and... Oh, no, it'll be just after the next episode.
Yeah, just after the next episode, yep.
Yeah. All right, moving on. I stumbled across these. This could almost be aiming at the indie. Because I stumbled across this. You know how Facebook does this thing now where it just recommends certain things, and it kind of like it inserts itself into your feed to make it look like you're already following this person?
Yeah.
Because I'd heard of Seder Art Studio, and it's like, oh, I don't remember following them. I must have done at some point. And then I looked at it, it's like, oh, no, it's Facebook. And then I kind of looked closer, I'm like, ooh, actually, maybe I don't mind. I'm not really an old Hammer person. I've said this a few times. I have no nostalgia for the old Warhammer 40k and the old fantasy. I understand why people do, but it's not a part of it that I was ever part of. But you know what? I really like these Beastkin models. I think these look awesome.
Yeah.
The post that I saw was the creator holding them in his hand. It's like, thank you for everybody that pre-ordered these and helping these become a thing. Like, it's a small business saying thank you to people that took a risk on them, basically. And like these, I mean, they do feel very old Hammer, but they are new sculpts. One piece as far as I understand. I mean, they all look one piece to me. And I don't see anything that would suggest otherwise. They are made in the US, which I know for certain people is going to be an important thing, because these are not cheap either. But they are hand-cast metal miniatures made in the United States. They don't come with the bases, which I thought was an interesting choice. They're also making a mountain giant, which is huge. Kind of has that
Yeah.
silly old hammer look to him as well. Oh, Michigan. There we go. It's in Michigan. If I ask you how much 2.3 ounces is, are you going to be able to help me answer that question?
No.
2.3 ounces to metric. It is about 60 grams. 65 grams. Okay. So it's not that heavy. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's a giant metal giant that looks a little bit silly. Like, it's old hammer, right? And honestly, it looks like it'd be a lot of fun to paint. I like that his weapon is just a tree stump. Oh, not a stump. It is a tree.
Tree.
And then lastly, there are some snow elves, which is very unique. I've not seen people do this before. They might have been. I've just not seen them. So they're calling this their conversion from the old hammer elves. So they're kind of making their own version of it, essentially. This is a really cool idea. Like, this would be a really fun old world army. But they do have more than just this regiment. If I figure out how to go back, it doesn't matter. There's like 3 different releases, and I imagine that this is a line that they will continue adding to over time as well. Again, this is not a cheap set, but you're looking at metal hand-casted miniatures in the United States. And it's also, somebody trying to run a business, so they want to make a profit. But they look really cool. I really like these. So yeah, I don't know. You're kind of like me, right? Like, old hammer stuff doesn't really do anything for you. I mean,
No, not really.
Warhammer doesn't do anything for you at all. But is any of those 3 grabbing you more than the others?
Probably the elves.
Yeah.
Just because if I were to get into Warhammer when it was fantasy, it was probably going to be the elves.
Mm-hmm. If it was me, I would probably have, because building a full army of this is probably, I mean, there are some people that would do it, but if it was me, I would buy a couple of these regiments to add something to an existing army.
Yeah.
To be like, this is my veterans or whatever. Like, especially like, because some of the Games Workshop stuff is so old that it really looks really old. So you could replace models that you don't necessarily like the look of with something like this that's a bit more unique. And then I get to talk about GCT. It's Bushido time. Yeah, I'm super
Who's
excited.
this? What company? What game is this? I don't know. We can just skip it.
Well, if that's the case, we can skip the next one too.
Nope. I knew that was coming.
Oh, yeah.
I just pulled up Mizuku, and that one, I like the look of this dragon.
Oh, yeah. I really, really like this. We're starting with what I think is the strongest release of the set, because this is gorgeous.
I mean, just the way the dragon is wrapped around her, and she just kind of leaned back into it as it's coiled up. Just awesome.
I like the fact that it can be built as either one thing or 2. Did you notice that?
Oh, I just scrolled over, so I just didn't see that. That is awesome. That is pretty cool.
Obviously, I haven't seen the sculpt of this, so I don't know necessarily how easy or hard that is. I'm guessing that in the rules, there's something about them combining, maybe? I mean, I probably could have read this. I considered the same when creating a warband. Yeah, I mean, they're designed to work together by the look of it. So, I don't know. Like I said, I imagine that there's... Oh, there we go. There's a communion with the dragon card. So I would imagine that one of them is designed for the other base to go inside of it.
I mean,
that's what I would imagine.
But when you look at it, the 2 individually, it almost looks like you could see the hollow spot where...
Yeah.
Instead of a hollow spot, there's almost like a flame coming up out of the middle of the dragon, where
which
you
is
would probably
definitely
just
not
sit
there
her
when
in-
they're both. I reckon you're right.
Yeah.
I reckon it gets swapped out for that flame.
Either way, it's an awesome sculpt for that dragon.
Oh, 100%. And I love that it's a traditional Chinese dragon too.
Mm-hmm.
It's or the classic Oriental dragon.
Yeah.
Why do I word it that way? Because I know it's probably not the best way to word it, but like it's not necessarily a Chinese design. It comes from several different areas. It just
Yeah.
gets labeled with Chinese because, I mean, it is heavily Chinese, but it's not just their design. It's in multiple areas.
Yeah.
Moving on. Unfortunately, we have looked at the best thing first.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say that I don't like this next thing. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, it's a blind guy with a giant staff that he's going to stab you with.
Yep.
I mean, I'm assuming he's blind because his eyes are covered. And that is kind of one of the tropes of mythology from that area of the world. Where you have the sword guy that's got his eyes covered because he's blind and he still kicks everybody's butt.
Yeah.
But yeah. We also have somebody new for the Savage Wave. So this is a new Oni. Is it an Oni? Oh no, it's a Samurai. Oh no, it's not even for the Savage Wave. It's a Minimoto model. And I knew that. So he's got like this ice sword, which is just really cool. I like the fact that there's icicles where his feet are to help it integrate with the base a little better. Although
Are
I
those
guess
icicles supposed to be crystals.
well, you could paint them up as crystals if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Minimoto are supposed to come from like the mountains, so and they do have a lot of ice powers, and he does have this snow blizzard. Oh, no,
I guess.
slow,
Yeah, I did see a
sorry.
blizzard.
But yeah, blizzard.
Yeah,
so
blizzard
like
effect.
it kind of makes sense.
To be snow. Nope, you're right.
I mean, ice, I suppose. Which ices are crystals, so you're not wrong.
Yeah.
We also have a goblin shark. The goblin shark is either something that will make you laugh or make you go, ugh. There's not really much, because it is a horrifying looking shark, but it's so derpy. I look at the goblin shark and I can't help but kind of giggle because I kind of think it looks really silly. But there's a lot of people that look at the goblin shark and just see something terrifying, right? Seeing one on land would definitely be more terrifying than giggle territory. I like that we're getting more of these shark. Like, you could probably almost field an entire force of sharks at this point. I think that there's either 3 or 4 of them in total. And then we have a hyena. All we need now is Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Does the hyena have a name? No, it's just
Kawaii.
Kawaii. Which, to me, Kawaii is it's an anime thing. It's something that anime fans do quite regularly. But I mean, I do know that it has a meaning. But I want to say second best looking release in this series, in this wave. Again, like it's not fair because we looked at the best thing first.
You're absolutely right. We did.
And then we have, I want to say it's like a rat goddess type looking thing. Nonbo it's another one of the rat creatures for the cult. It probably says here somewhere. I don't know. It's like a samurai for the rats, anyway. So it's very interesting, very weird in the way it looks, but deliberately. My lord, this comes with a lot of cards.
Yeah.
So, like, the Cult of Uri is very creepy Asian mythology type stuff, so that's why this kind of looks really creepy and weird in the way that it does. A lot of them, like, you have like the really creepy zombie things, and like that. I still say that GCT make the best looking skeletons on the market. And then this is just kind of completing out their rat section. I mean, I say completing out. There's nothing that says that there won't be more of them, but you are at a point now where you could probably field just a force of rats, which is kind of cool. And yeah, I think that was... Because that Consequences deck is just new. It's not... We've looked at that before. It's the new cycle deck of cards.
Yep.
So, I guess that's it, right? There was nothing more interesting to look at. We can go straight to the new spaceship.
No. We
No?
got some new stuff for Dystopian Wars.
You sure?
Yeah. Absolutely sure.
Fine. To be fair, this is a very tempting box.
This is a very cool looking box because, so the last couple of months we've seen as we know, 4th edition just got released beta-wise, and the full release for the Orbats just got released 2 days ago, actually, for all the factions. And so the beta rules of the Orbats and all the unit stats are fully released now. And so we've seen a Crown box and we've seen a Empire box for some of the new stuff that's coming out. But now we have our new and first 2-player starter set, which is going to be Crown and Empire. And for $128, this is not a bad price.
Yeah.
For all the stuff that you're getting.
Yeah. 178 in Australia. Sorry, 170. No, it's the better part of 180 in Australia.
So either way, you're getting a good sized army for both Crown and Empire.
Yep.
You're getting 2 sets of cards, 2 sets of dice, 2 sets of maneuver tokens and stuff like that, 2 sets of tokens, 2 rule books. So you're getting pretty much everything for 2 full on stats in terms of the support stuff.
I like that they do this because not everybody does. See, here's the thing that I find the best thing about a 2-player starter set is that it's an entry for 2 people to play against each other. But the fact that most of the time the industry only has 1 set of rules, which, fair, one person is usually the one that reads the rules and like both players can...
Yeah.
Like, you don't necessarily both need a rule book. You do both need tokens. You do both need cards, and you do both need the templates.
Dice and... Yeah.
So I like that they're doing that.
2 sets of everything on the support side you're getting, which is awesome. But then we'll start getting into some of the models. And we've seen some of these models already before from the Crown and the Empire box that we've seen. So we won't go in too much scrolling through them. But we are getting some new stuff here. There is some brand new stuff also that was not in those intro boxes. For example, these ISOL torpedo submarines. These are some massive new submarines, and we've never seen these before. So some of these are kind of cool. They kind of remind me somewhat of the Nautilus and the Morgana submarine. The Morgana and the Nautilus has that saw blade down the nose ridge, if you remember that. But these new submarines all have different various weaponry that they can use by opening their front hatch.
I just want to say, I love that the model has built in a description of where these weapons come from.
Yeah.
Which with submarines in war games doesn't get thought of very much. But if you had a giant cannon on the outside of a submarine, it's going to get rusty.
Yeah.
Because that's how salt water works.
Yeah. But by having these open bay hangar doors that then open up as they get onto the surface, I think it's a cool idea.
Yep.
But then we have some Gariel hovercrafts, which we've never seen hovercrafts for the Crown before. We've seen them for the Commonwealth. They have their own style of hovercraft, but we've never seen any of these.
I really love the hovercraft.
These look cool. And then we also have a new rotor, the Inuit Strike Rotor. So Canadian, it's almost like the Canadian version of the Crown has. So cool looking little version for this. Those are some of the new units that we're seeing within the Empire set itself. And then if you start scrolling through the Empire, we've seen some of these ships already before from the Empire box that we looked at last time. But if we scroll all the way over, We've seen the Tianlongs, these Colossus dragons. We've seen the Chinese and the Japanese versions, but we've never seen the Koreans. The Koreans are now coming out for the Empire, and the Koreans are the ones that the little wings on them. So
I like the wing turbines. They are cool.
they are very cool. And so we've got a few Korean. Korea, the sub-faction of Korea within the Empire is going to be your air wing, primarily units.
Yeah.
And so we've got the dragon with the wings on it. We've got the Sanshin Judgment Cruiser. And then we've got some other assault rotors, a Wang air cruiser. And then we've got these little, I almost want to call them lanterns.
Well, that's
on the sides.
That is exactly what these are.
Yeah.
These are lanterns from the Lantern Festival, but they've just made them into weapons, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
If you're going to make a fictional army from a place that really exists, integrate the culture.
Yeah.
In a respectful way.
So I agree. Absolutely. So it's nice to finally see a new sub-faction within the Empire come out, finally, which gives us hope to see some of the other sub-factions for some of the other primary factions that we haven't seen. Spain, for the Alliance in particular. I know they have plans to try and get them released by the end of this year, from what I understand. But then you also get some civilian ships. So you get the Titan Mass Conveyor, and we've seen these before. From 3rd edition releases, but you're getting a couple of these to go along with the campaign book that you're going to get inside this book or this set as well.
So these are for like missions, right?
Yep. You're going to have probably 4 or 5 learning scenarios that's going to kind of go into a campaign. This is how all the other starter sets from 3rd edition were as well. You had a small little campaign book that you would play out the set of rules, and it builds upon each mission that you do, builds upon the rules as you go through the book. Yeah. And the campaign. You're going to start with a few small units to play with some easy stuff, and then the next mission is going to add on to more units and some more rules. And so by the time you get into usually it's about 5 missions. So by the time you play your 5th mission or whatever the last mission is, you're playing with the entire box and you're playing with all the rules in the game.
Yeah.
So, which I think is a cool idea that they build into their campaign system so that new players can learn the game.
All right. Up next, we're talking about this deliberately this week because George isn't here.
Because George isn't here.
Yep. It's deliberately being done. It's not just a coincidence that they're releasing it this week. TT Combat are in on this as well. They definitely knew that George wasn't here, and they've decided to release a new product because he wasn't going to be here.
And that is their plastic battle cruisers for the Shaltari.
I will say... Given that we now have evidence of this, I'm disappointed to know that somehow they're spying on our personal chat that they're not part of.
True. But these look awesome.
Yeah. These have been teased for a little while. Like the link has been changed a couple of times. This got teased 2 weeks ago, a day or so after we last recorded. So, hang on. Let me bring up my notes. Or did I delete my notes? I deleted my notes. I believe this has 10,000... sorry. There's 10 different builds for this. And there was a dots count. But I've lost the thing where it said it. Michelle said in his post the estimated number of dots. But I've accidentally deleted it. Because I'm an idiot.
I mean, but still, being able to build 10 different battle cruisers out of this one box, goes to show the amount of detail that Dave has put on these sprues as he's designing these ships.
2,383 dots, which, George, all of them have to be painted. All of them.
Agreed. But either way, I mean, it's awesome to see some of these, because some of these I recognize from the Kickstarter, the Ruby, the Sapphire. I think those are some of the originals, if I'm not mistaken.
There is a video that
but then
TT
there's-
Combat put out, by the way, that like shows the full kit and the sprue and everything, and they show you like and that's where the estimated number of dots comes from. I like that even they have only given an estimation for the amount of dots, even though, like, especially after having spoken to him, I'm pretty sure Dave would know exactly how
Would
many
know.
dots there are. There's no way that Dave doesn't know that. Because he is the sort of person that would have double checked.
Yeah.
You know, like when you have a kit that builds like several different ships, you kind of get to a point where it almost feels like they're all the same, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's elements of this where I get like, because obviously the fins, but they do all feel very different.
Yeah.
You've got some of them where like the wings are being combined into one to make it look like it's all one solid piece, and others where you have like things hanging off, and it's just, this gets me excited to see what the other kits are like.
Yeah.
I've said this before, I loved building my battleship. Like the new battleship was awesome. I want my Scourge one now. I will also say, I like the fact that they are releasing these one at a time, rather than all at once. Spreading it out, not flooding the market with everything all at once, and it helps have a continuous excitement. Granted, I understand why they did that with things like the battle boxes. It makes sense to release them all at once. It's just a rebox of existing kits. The battleships as well, like it was in the middle of the release, so you wanted to have a wave of stuff all at the same time. But now that you're kind of like you're past that initial new edition excitement, drip feeding makes a lot more sense. Otherwise, you end up getting into the issue that we're going to talk about next.
Yeah.
So, long story short, at least for, well, there is 7 more kits to be released for Shatterpoint. And the game is not done, the game is not dead, but that's it for now. They will continue to support the community, the kits are still being released, but essentially, the game is on pause for now, is essentially what this says. The community response to this has kind of been a little bit here, there, and everywhere. And I have a feeling that when I go into this, you're going to have opinions on this as well. When it comes to announcements, Atomic Mass Games has a bit of a history here of wording things in a way that makes people panic. When they changed all of the rules for Legion, they pretty much split their audience in two, some of which did go back eventually. And like at this point, you're either someone that's like, yeah, everybody overreacted, the game's fine, which may or may not be the case. I know you didn't like the changes. That's somewhat irrelevant. But I would probably suggest that the way that they announced that was the worst part of that decision.
Yeah. The same goes with Armada, but that's another subject.
Yeah. The biggest problem with Armada is the fact that they took so long before they said anything. Like everybody knew everybody saw that. They just didn't want to say it.
Yep.
So they made an announcement, and then they kind of like added to this announcement to try to make it more clearer. I think this is most of the people behind Atomic Mass Games comes from Warmer Hordes, which also had a bit of a history of putting their foot in their mouth sometimes. And this is my opinion. I'm not the only one that has said this, but this isn't necessarily fact. I kind of have a feeling that this is why lawyers shouldn't write community announcements. Because lawyers write things that's just bang, 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 because it's the way lawyers are supposed to think. But if you present something in corporate speak, which is what all of this is. Like, Games Workshop used to be very bad for this as well. Like, it's just the announcement they put out is all corporate speak, and you can see that it's all corporate speak, and there's been no refining or trying to make it sound nicer. It's just, this is what's happening, that's it, bang. And then the community comes back and is like, oh my god, the game is dead. How can you kill the game already? Which isn't what they've said. They've said that the game is on pause. They've even acknowledged that there's kits that they haven't done. There are 7 kits still coming. But it's not the first time they've done it, where they've made an announcement and then everybody's just kind of gone, the game is dead. Oh my god. Atomic Mass Games is over. Oh my god. Which is like, it's just, granted, I get it. The internet is really stupid at times. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. The internet is really dumb sometimes. But I'd probably argue that this is something that needs to happen. I would also make the argument that this needs to happen for Marvel too. But I'll come back to Marvel for a second. Like, there definitely should still be more releases that happens for Shatterpoint, but they should take a break and come back to it with a new edition and a new release schedule. The biggest problem with Shatterpoint is that the kits have been flooding constantly and they haven't spread things out.
Yeah.
Which is why it kind of feels like this game has only been out for 2.5 years. And it's already on pause. Because everything came out so quickly.
Yes.
That they've kind of done everything. Like, literally, there's no Gungans and stuff. They still haven't done Yoda. They haven't done Palpatine. And all of those things are things that they should have done. But they've done things from the prequels. They've done things from the modern sets that are coming out now. They've done things from Clone Wars. They've done things from the original set. Like, they've done everything as far as what people would have wanted. They've pretty much done everything, which is why you go on pause, right? You find either a reason to make a new edition and refresh everything, or you make a new game. It's going to be interesting to see what happens from here. I would like to see a new edition happen, but I don't see how they do that. Because they've still got
feels too new.
They've still got the problem of that all of the stuff that most people want is out.
Yeah.
Most people don't want the Gungans. Most people want Yoda. But I mean, Star Wars stuff will continue to release, and maybe there'll be stuff in there that'll help inspire more stuff as well. Marvel has the same problem. They're nowhere near being to the point of everything being out for that. There is a lot of stuff in Marvel that they haven't touched. But they're releasing stuff for that so frequently, probably because they're trying to get through it all. But it kind of just feels like they're flooding the market too much, to the point where there is a growing voice in the community of people that are really tired of, because it's just like it's almost harder to keep up with that than it is for Warhammer. The only difference is that every time they release a new box, it's 4 to 6 models. But they're also very they're also very pricey kits. I actually believe that they're worth the price they sell them for. I know not everybody agrees with me on that. But I really think Atomic Mass Games needs to start looking at how they're doing their releases. Because I think they need to slow down. Like, the kits that they're coming out with now are definitely better than the kits that they were doing originally. Like, detail and stuff is a lot sharper now. Like, it was very fine detail that, like, a coat of paint would remove very early on. Some people had more problems with that than others, but like, there was definitely some, like the early Captain America, when the moment you put paint on it, all of the definition in that chest basically disappeared. Unless you had an airbrush, it was nigh on impossible to get that done properly. And good luck trying to, like, it was, I was quite proud of how mine turned out, but that was really difficult. Is this the end of the world? No, not really. I'm really not surprised that people reacted the way that they did, though. I mean, I called it corpo speak. That is, like, not my statement. I kind of stole that from the comments elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I don't know who does their social media. I don't know if it's one of the main guys that does it or if they're hiring somebody to do it. But whoever it is that's doing their social media probably needs to have more control of how this stuff goes out. As much as, yes, I understand that it probably needs to be worded certain ways for certain things, but whoever it is that does their media and their marketing and all of that, like to pretty stuff up, needs to have a say in this sort of stuff as well. Because you can cover all of the important details and not make an entire community panic. I'm not saying don't say these things. Like, this is something that needed to be said. And I like that the fact that they're saying it before all of the kits come out and not just, oh, next week is the next week of release, is the last week of releases, because that would be worse.
Yep.
They need to... I think that the reason that they've done this a little earlier is because they've learnt their lesson from Armada. Because that was 2 years too late.
Yep.
But yeah, I think they can continue to improve with this. I mean, I don't run a business. It's easy for me to criticize. But it's not the first time they've made their entire audience panic. And I say entire audience. It's the vocal minority, right? But, I mean, you can make the argument that no news is bad news. But at the same time, if most of the media coverage of your company is, oh my god, your game is dead, that's not good. Granted, a lot of people probably would have done that, even if the fact that it was a pause was more obvious. But you can't control that anyway. At least if you word it in a more careful way, that it's a pause and that the game will be back at some point. At least if you word it in a certain way, those that are smart enough to read between the lines won't let those sort of media coverage people influence them too much. I mean, Games Workshop have this problem as well, but they are the big fish in the sea. So they, if you're going to be the big dog, you kind of have to just learn to accept it, right? I'm not giving Games Workshop a pass on this, though they are also not as bad for this as they used to be.
Trim, glue, prime, paint.
What have you been up to, Socks?
Do you happen to remember my cotton ball clouds that I had for Dystopian Wars?
Yeah.
From a few years ago?
Wasn't that long ago, was it?
About 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
3 years ago. Yeah.
What happened? Did you burn them?
No, I traded them to someone down in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Because he was wanting them. Because I was moving away. He wanted some. So I traded them for some little tokens and stuff like that. But, as you guys know, I have a 3D printer that I got for Christmas. And so happened to stumble across a 3D cloud STL file.
Nice.
If the camera will. So,
it's
made some white ones.
It's not going to be something that'll show up on camera very easily anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then a big, huge gray one. So,
I like the fact
different
that
sizes.
I like the fact that you've done that as a different color.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I'll probably do a little bit of shading on the white one just to give it some details.
Yeah.
But the last few days, particularly yesterday and today, I have been mass producing some islands, and these are actual topographical island sculpts that I found. but that's just a scale of 1 to.
Yeah.
So
They're
some of those-
about the same scale as the ones I bought for Kings of War, roughly.
Yeah. So I have the small island terrain pack that War Cradle has, and those islands are probably about that big around. And so I wanted some bigger ones for some of the larger capital ships, and so I was looking on some of the STL websites and found those. Unfortunately, the weather has been wet and rainy and not conducive to be able to spray anything, so I haven't been able to spray
In winter?
anything.
I'm shocked.
I know, right? But hopefully that'll change, and I can get some base coating on some of my armor clash stuff, and I can start painting that stuff. I'm wanting to get into that. So, and finish up these islands, because I've been playing Dystopian Wars just about once a week with one of my buddies on base. So he bought into it. He bought Imperium and Union, and he's hating me for right now for all the money he's been spending. I'm not hating it, because I get to play with someone now before I have to go in 3 months. So, but that's what I've been up to: printing some islands and building some clouds.
Nice. So, I'm not going to go into details as to what the family like. It's everything's okay.
Yep.
But it has not been a month where hobby was a very easy thing to do, because
you had other priorities.
Well, what sort of mental state was I in for most of that time, Socks?
That too. Not very good.
I was
doom and gloom, and pretty much like something is
deserved doom and gloom too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree wholeheartedly.
So it's just like, it's one of those things where I haven't got a lot done. I did go to game not Friday, but the Friday before. I played some 148 Tactic finally since buying my set.
Nice.
And there's a preview of something else I'm going to talk about in a minute. So this is the one that I unboxed a little while ago.
Yep.
What I did manage to get done before Mum's Crisis was the terrain from the set. I need to black the reds, but so that is one of them. I had done the pile of wood already.
That looks nice.
But all of these are ones that I've done since. These kind of have a hole in the middle for your troop to stand in the middle of.
I was going to say that it looks like it has that designed specifically so you can put someone in there like as if they're hiding behind it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And then this
little cool wagon.
It's not exactly the right color. It's a little bit darker. But when I eventually highlight this up, which I will do eventually, I just haven't bothered yet. This is all speed paint, by the way. Which I might turn my light on. So, like, it's not exact. Like, it definitely needs to be lighter, right?
Yeah.
But given that this is a speed paint,
yeah, it looks nice.
I was careful to try and avoid it pooling. So, like, obviously, there's a reason why it's not all blotchy and stuff. But
yep,
it's turned out far better than it should have. And of course, I still need to do the rider because I haven't gotten around to doing the rider yet. So all of that terrain has been done. When I did the car, I kept on sending this message around saying the only good Nazi is ... because obviously there's a dead Nazi in the driver's seat. Yeah. But I got all of those done in a night, I think. I don't even remember what night it was. It was definitely before Mum had her problem, though. And I messaged Brendan. I'm like, hey, I'd really like to have a game of this. I'd been kind of itching for a game of this for a while. I haven't done any more work on my actual troops. And at this point, I'm not going to. Because, so, when I spoke about this game originally, I mentioned that the person that I'm playing with is using models that he already owns, which is, I thought they were bolt action minis. Apparently they're not, but it's that scale, right?
Close enough.
Yeah. And when you're comparing a 28mm model with a 148 model, it's not just a matter of a few mil. It's a significant difference. So, I bought myself some Germans.
Nice.
I haven't unboxed. I might actually do this as an unboxing. I don't know. I haven't decided that yet because my head's been everywhere. At this stage, I think the first thing I'm going to try and do is to try and replicate these minis as closely as I can. The other thing I got recently is the card set.
Oh, nice.
You may remember, like, when we looked at this as an aiming for the indie, there's card sets that you could buy for most of the factions to basically use with your own minis. And this is like, it's 60 cards in here of like all different, just generic troops, basically. Yep. Ironically, none of these actually match what comes in my original set. But I really like the fact that these are standard card size, because the ones that come in the set are like a really weird. It's not mini American
ratio.
or mini European. It's a very unique card size. Which is fine. Like, you don't need to mark anything on the card anyway. But
yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah. It's for a starter set, I guess, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my intention is, at least to start with, I want to try and build the miniatures as is.
Yep.
And then I'm going to start trying to flesh out stuff for the other cards that I'd like to try and play with.
Nice.
In saying that, with this box set, I can't build a sniper, and after using that sniper character in my last game, which just ruined Brendan's stuff. You know, the wonderful thing about a sniper is that you can just kind of step out from behind a rock, shoot somebody, and step back behind the rock again.
Yeah.
Unless they get too close, which did actually end up happening. I actually won both games. The first one was it kind of went really badly. The second one was much more even, but then I managed to kind of, we were kind of like shot for shot for a little while. And he kind of like, he had me up against the wall. Not literally, but, and I managed to stop both of his guys from being able to do anything. Which basically meant that I could then steamroll him. But up until that point, it was quite close. The other thing I did is I kind of organized everything to fit into the box.
Oh, nice.
Kind of like I did with my Warcrow stuff. So it all kind of goes together, and like the only thing that doesn't fit in here is the cards, which is fine because they can be carried elsewhere. Hence why I put them in the nice, expensive Boulder card thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's part of it. I've also started painting up some terrain for Shatterpoint. The primer that I used is a little bit hydrophobic, so I'm going to have to cover it over with a bit of varnish. That's fine. Another thing that I bought, I actually bought this a little while ago, and I don't know if I've shown it off, so I grabbed it while I grabbed everything else. I actually bought these.
Ooh, you bought the sponges.
Yeah. Now, George thought these were dumb. I thought this was a smart idea. Now, granted, I would probably argue that we're both right, because yes, this is kind of dumb. Like, foam you can get for free.
Yeah.
But, especially for new people, like it's something that doesn't exist, and I'm kind of surprised nobody's done it before. But, really, I don't see there's any point unboxing this. So I'm just going to kind of show off one of them. The brush handle is much smaller than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Which, granted, when you look at the box, they are in the box as well. But when I was looking at it on the website, I'd kind of just, in my head, I'd kind of pictured that they were being cut off and there was more handle there.
Yeah.
But realistically, this makes much more sense anyway. because it gives you more control over the brush. The
Yeah.
reason you wouldn't want to do this with a paintbrush is you need that length to actually be able to have control over the bristles so that you can manipulate it
Mhm.
properly. You don't want that with this because it's
You're just stippling whatever. Yeah.
So you would end up having like all of the, and you'd probably end up poking yourself with it all the time. It would get quite annoying. So I mean, I haven't used these yet. I will, obviously. Weathering is something that I want to start doing more because I'm kind of shocking with it. It's something that I'm always going to do and never get around to. So it's one of the reasons why I kind of took the dive on this. Like, they're also not that expensive. Like, it's $17.45 in Australia, which is, I don't know, probably $10, $12 or something for you.
Yeah, something like that.
So it wasn't that expensive. Did I have? I think that was everything I bought. I also had a game of something on Wednesday. I don't remember what the game was. Which somehow I won. It was what was it called?
Good job.
There was a board game we played with. It's the people that I normally play Moonstone and that with. Like there's a whole series of men on a map games that I played recently, like Risen Sun and the Cyberpunk game, and so it's kind of another one of those style of games. And honestly, I spent most of, and this isn't unusual for me, I spent most of the game kind of under the assumption that I was just really failing at this. Because for the first couple of rounds, like, the game got explained, but I really didn't get what I was doing. And I was kind of just stumbling through all my first through turns. With, like, my first turn, I picked something because, well, I'm going to do this because at least I understand this bit. I'll figure out the rest as other people's turns are happening. And I got to the end, and I was kind of keeping up, but I was behind. And I was getting towards the end. We were running out of time. We didn't finish the game because the first time we're playing something, it takes a little while, and it was a new game. And it's like, because I just lost all of these troops, and I was on the verge of going to lose all of this land. And it's like, well, I could split these two people up and try a capture, but I'm going to have to try and fight two people in other areas. And it was a big risk, but I saw that like there was one of these cards I was holding that would get me extra points if I could manage to capture 5 food things as well as something and something and something. And I miscounted how many food things I already had. I did actually manage to capture both of those land things, but that only left me on 4, not 5. So I ended up missing out on that, and I didn't. There was no way I was going to get another one because I didn't have enough people to be able to get it. But in saying that, because I managed to capture both of those lands, I ended up being... One of them had one of your scoring things, so I was level with the person that I assume was going to win. Because again, I'm under the assumption that I'm losing here. And we got to the end and I'm still in tie for lead. So, that's cool. So, yeah, that means John wins, right? So, yep. And I was like, well, hang on, let's double check. And so they counted up all of the lands that he had, which looked like a much bigger area than it was. But I guess it's just that the lands that he had captured were physically larger, I guess. Or it looked like it was because he had more troops, where I had lost most of my troops. I had one more land area than he did. So I won. And as much as I know why I won, I just explained it, I still don't quite know how I won. Which I know sounds really dumb, but hopefully makes sense.
Yep.
But yeah, like, I obviously haven't done much because I've not been in a headspace to do much. I did a massive update. Well, not a I did a fairly minor update on the Entropy City website. I went through and updated a bit of the world lore. I fleshed out the Redemption Falls Police Department a little bit. Kind of talked about the fact that like they are the ones that made the decision to go to martial law, and that it kind of backfired, and what's left of them is kind of not even really a shell of its former self. And
yeah,
I added in the hint that nobody really quite knows how they're being funded anymore, because obviously in this world there is no governmental body left anymore. Well, in that city at least, anyway. So, either there's still money left over from before, or something dodgy's going on. or they're just all volunteering, which obviously wouldn't make sense. So I've left it as an open-ended question quite deliberately because that is more fun. In my head, it's always been that the police force has some genuinely good police people that are genuinely trying to help fix the city, but there's also a mixture of corrupt as well.
The bad apples. Yep.
Well, that's quite literally every police force on the planet.
Yep.
And in a world like that, it would only be more so. Much like in the world of Batman, like it's only more so because in that world, how could it not be? You can't afford to be a pure innocent person in that sort of world.
Yeah.
And so I kind of left that open deliberately, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I also fleshed out. I reworded certain things when it comes to the mutiny more than fleshed out so much.
Nice.
And I've still left it vague as to, on the website at least, like in the rules document, there is more information there than I have on the website, but I've kind of left that. The website is deliberately simple right now because I'm not ready for marketing and I'm not going for my big push. When I get to that point, then yeah, sure, flesh out the website properly, flesh out all of the background. In the rules document, I did flesh out some of the characters a little more. One character in particular actually has a much bigger story than what I've written because he's actually a character from a role-playing game I used to do in my teens. So, like, he has a whole future that obviously won't be part of this. In my head, this is the younger version of the character that I had. And like he was an athlete. He was a fighter. Like quite literally, he used to compete in like. So in my head, he's an athletic kid that has goals to be an MMA fighter type person later in life, but he hasn't gotten there yet, and he's still kind of in this. Like he's mixed up in gangs and stuff because he hasn't been given much of a choice. Like he started off helping because he wanted to make a difference in his community, and this club, because he's part of Hades, like quite literally stopped him and his brother from ending up on the streets homeless. Because he lost his parents in the initial crisis that happened.
Yeah.
And then like he's had a massive falling out with his brother, and like he's still with the club, and is working with them loyally because he's grateful for the fact that they helped pay off his parents' debt and his brother's debt, and then his brother's basically just gone, and his brother's with one of the other troublesome groups. And in my head, they don't reunite again for a decade. But
yeah,
whether that actually ever matters in the game, realistically, I mean, maybe I eventually get to a point where he becomes like a dual faction person. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm not ready for that yet. I will need to have some multi-factional peoples at some point, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of been most of this is either the first 2 weeks or the last few days. Like there's a gap of like 2.5 weeks of me doing nothing. Relevant to the podcast, at least, anyway. The only other thing is that realistically, my time off in April is probably not going to be Entropy City time anymore, because I'm probably going home to spend time with Mum now.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I don't blame you.
Yeah, I haven't booked those flights yet. I need to wait to payday, but that's kind of something that needs to happen at this point. So, yeah. Game talk.
Yeah. Game talk.
So, I'm kind of disappointed that George isn't here for this, because George is the reason this is on the
run sheet.
The run sheet.
The notes.
And as much as I'm sure he doesn't want me showing off the model that inspired this, I am literally going to find the picture of the model that he was painting that started this conversation. Open image in new tab. There we go. Go there. So, this is the miniature that George was showing us off at the time. And basically, George shared this image with us, and he's like, I don't think I could achieve the same level of painting now that I used to be able to. And like, it's not so much that George was shocked by that or depressed by that or anything. I kind of got more like he was more like this is just him thinking out loud.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd pulled this out of his collection, and it's something that he was halfway through. It was like 75% done, and he was kind of dry fitting it together. So, yeah, I need to get back into practice. I don't think I'm as good as I was. And so we're going to talk a little bit about muscle memory, right? This is just a discussion that some people are going to be like, yep, okay, I know what muscle memory is. I don't need... Hear me out on this, because there's a side of muscle memory that people don't talk about. From a couple of perspectives. Now, obviously, from a beginner's perspective, muscle memory is not really something a lot of people understand what it is. So, in the show notes of this episode, I will be sharing a video that Army Painter released this week. Completely coincidental, because it's very relevant to this discussion. But that picture was shared by George on Tuesday, and that video was like 3 days later. Like, we were already 100% discussing this topic at the time that video goes live. It's completely coincidental. But they start that video by talking about the fact that you're not supposed to be good at this hobby. Because as a beginner, you don't know what you're doing yet. And they kind of like talk about something that we've talked about a few times as well. Like, comparing yourself to things online is great for inspiration, but don't compare yourself to things online because you're not supposed to be that good yet. You will be in time if you practice enough. That's what the muscle memory is. You have to build the muscle memory. You have to build the skill. It's like you can't pick up well, some people can. You can't pick up a guitar and just know how to play complicated songs instantly. You have to start by learning how to use the instrument. Same with the piano, etc., etc. You can't just play Mozart at a piano when you first sit down, even if you know what the notes are. You have to learn how to get there and get smoother with it until you are capable of doing that. It's the same with the hobby. Like, your first miniature, let me correct myself. Your last miniature should be the only thing you are comparing your current miniature to. Maybe even some of the older ones as well. How many times have I said that I wish I still had my first miniatures?
Yep.
I really wish I could go back. In saying that, I can also go back to some of my old miniatures, and this is the thing that we haven't touched on yet. I can go back to some of my old miniatures and go, gee, I was better at that point than I am now. But I can also see things where I thought it was the best thing I've ever done that I can genuinely do better now. I think I've touched on the fact that I think to some extent speed paint has made me a little bit lazy. It's not just that, though. I'm not putting as much time into the hobby now as I was because I have so many different things going on, and I'm working on a game and so on and so forth and everything else. But the thing about muscle memory isn't just that you have to develop it. You have to maintain it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going... I'm going to use a car as an example. Do you have 1 or 2 cars in your family, Socks?
3.
3?
Because we have 2 teenage...
Oh, okay.
My oldest.
Yep.
Who's driving?
So, if you was going away, and you're going to be away for 3 years, or if your car was going to be in storage over winter, what do you have to do?
Still have to maintain it a little bit.
Yeah.
Unplug the battery. Got to maintain it. Maybe start it up every so often.
There's something that Americans have to do that we don't have to do in this country, which is winterize vehicles as well. Like if you have a motorbike, it's probably the best example. Like, generally what needs to happen is that you need to empty the fuel and everything out of them as well. And then put it all back in before you start it again the next time. Because otherwise, I mean, A, your fuel will be stale, which isn't something a lot of people think about, but fuel does go stale. If you're someone that uses your vehicle every day, it's not something you will have ever faced. If you're someone that's ever bought an old vehicle that hasn't been touched for a long time, or if you watch videos of people that buy old vehicles that haven't been touched for a long time, yeah, you'll know what I'm talking about. But otherwise, you'll probably not even realize. If you were playing as a teenager and then got to that age where parties and everything else is more interesting and then came back to this in your late 20s, early 30s, like most people in this hobby probably did, you're not as good when you pick it back up when you were when you stopped.
Yep.
You can't be because you haven't been practicing. And this is a side of the hobby that doesn't really get... Like, you don't talk about this on YouTube because, I mean, A, you can't really show this on YouTube. Like, you can't show... Like, what? You're going to have a YouTuber that's going to deliberately stop making content for 3 years so that they can come back and show you that they're not as good as they used to be. I mean, A, they've lost all of their audience. And then B, nobody's interested in that story to begin with. So why talk about it? I'm talking about it because not everybody is an experienced painter. Some people need to know this.
Yep.
To know what they're in for. And like, make no mistake, like, this isn't supposed to be scaring you away from the hobby. The reason I'm sharing that army painter video, and like even for you, Socks, I don't know if you watched it when I shared it.
I haven't yet.
You really should. It is genuinely I think it's probably the best hobby video I've seen in months. It doesn't actually show any hobby. Well, it kind of does and it doesn't. But it's not about the hobby. It's not about how I painted something. It's just about getting that message across of like, hey, this is a progress. This is something you're learning. Stop expecting too much of yourself. Is it comparison is the thief of joy? Am I getting that saying wrong?
I don't think so.
It's something like that. I don't think the word is comparison, though. But anyway, whatever that phrase is, like, if all you're ever doing is, if you're sitting down and you're comparing yourself with Golden Demon level of painters, and then you're looking at your model, which is most likely not going, because most people can't paint at that level. Also, most of those models have been painted over probably 4 to 6 months, not 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
So like it's not a fair comparison, even vaguely. So, and again, this is not a message that you really would know as a beginner. How have? Because I'm trying to think of the best. Because I mean, you've obviously had breaks when you've gone away, when you've been on deployment and stuff. Like you've taken stuff with you to some extent, but I wouldn't imagine that includes paints.
No, when I've done so, like my year that I was in IUD, I didn't have any of my paint stuff. I brought stuff to play with. The 4 months that I was in Saudi Arabia, I didn't bring anything because I was only going to be gone for 4 months, and I didn't have the luxury of. It was a different type of deployment. So my year that I was away from the family, it was actually a full-on move. I was technically moving to that base, and so I was able to move up to 500 pounds worth of stuff to help survive, clothing, whatever, and then the extra space that I had in my 500 pounds, I was just like, well, I'm going to ship over some games, board games, tabletop games, my computer. And so it was different than when I was in Saudi Arabia for the 4 months. But again, I didn't bring any of that stuff. And so, yes, I've had big gaps of time as in, even since I've gotten my painting studio. You guys know the situation that I was dealing with my landlord, and that was, trying to deal with going to school for a second master's degree at the same time. I didn't really do a lot of painting, and so yes, I think I've lost some of that muscle memory, if we want to call it, of skill and. Oh,
I guarantee that you will have. There's no way that you couldn't have.
Yeah.
There is another side to that, though. Because getting it back is, and this is where the conversation with George went. So I think you'll find that you'll get that back a lot easier than you got it the first time. If you're riding a bike and you haven't touched your bike in, let's be fair, most of us probably haven't touched a bicycle in years, if not decades at this point. I certainly haven't. You'll be a bit nervous getting back on one for the first time, but it'll just come back to you
somewhat naturally still.
Somewhat naturally. Like, maybe not as easily as it was when you were doing it every day, but it won't take as long for that muscle memory to come back the second time. The thing you have to have is the thing that today's world doesn't really allow you to have a lot of the time. You need to have patience. Which is easier said than done. But like, one of the reasons most of us are in this hobby is to turn off and switch off. You need to give yourself a chance to do that. Part of that is going to be not comparing it to everybody. I'm not saying don't look at other people's work. Lord knows, no, don't. Like, I look at other people's work all the time. Also, for the record, I am one of these people that will compare myself to people I shouldn't compare myself with. I do this all the time. I'm shocking for it. And I have been told off by several people about the way that I talk about my own hobby. I try not to do it so much. It's one of the reasons why I did the whole not talking down about myself thing. But like back in the day when I was at the painting table, when like all of my hobby was being done at a gaming store, I would be told off regularly for how I spoke about my own hobby, because I just didn't see it. Like to the point where like there was a group project that we did, and they asked me to paint the group project because they felt that I was the best painter out of all of them. I still don't understand why they made that decision. But that was the decision that they, like, we each did a part of it. Like, I did the painting, somebody else did the building, somebody else did the diorama, and then somebody else did something else. And I'm really proud of how that turned out. It wasn't a display cabinet at one point. I don't know if it still is, because I haven't been to that store in like 3 years. But it was like a thank you that we did for the store for like the community that they'd grown and stuff. So I don't know, that was kind of, again, this is a discussion point that came from a conversation we were having. There was part of me when I was watching the Army Painter video yesterday that was like, I kind of almost want to do a response to that. And then maybe we still will at some point. I mean, this is sort of, but it's that's not what this was intended. I don't know. It's just trying to do my part to help people, or do our part to help people realize that probably overthinking it. Thank you very much to Valhalla Hobby for sponsoring this episode. You can find Valhalla Hobby at valhallahobby.com. They have a huge range, and I do mean, like, they have a massive range of stuff available. A lot of the products that we've been talking about today are very niche in this industry, that you may not find in all stores. Bushido is a very good example of that. Dystopian Wars 2, TT Combat as well. But these are all things that you can find at that store. It's not why we're sponsored by them, but it is why we started having the relationship with them to begin with. Because we cover a lot of the indie side of this industry, and that's also part of the industry that they are very passionate about. So, I mean, yes, you can find your Warhammers, you can find a lot of card games, like you can find role-playing stuff, but they specialize in the indie side of this business. The range that they have available is phenomenal. The customer service that they offer is excellent as well. And like, honestly, you can find them at valhallahobby.com. If you use the code TABLED, that's TABLED, you'll get 5% off your first order over $100. For the record, there's no kickback we get on any of this. It just shows them that that's where you came from. If you're in a position where you can consider it, please consider supporting us on Patreon. For $2 a month, you get early access to all of the video content that we do. You can find that at patreon.com/gettingtabled. You can also find our website at which is gettingtabled.com. That website has recently been updated. Social media wise, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/gettingtabled. X, Twitter, Instagram, Blusky, and Threads is all at gettingtabled. You can email us, gettingtabled@gmail.com. We have a Discord community, which you're welcome to join. There is a specific section for our Patreons, but the community itself is open to everyone. You can also find us at Reddit, which is r/gettingtabled. If you're not tired of listening to my voice, which Socks is right now, then you can also find me at youtube.com/toyreel. And if you're curious what on earth Entropy City is, you can find that at www.entropycity.com. Thank you, Socks.
Thank you, Bruce. Been fun.
Thank you, folks. And hey, we don't ask this very often, but if you think there's a friend of yours that might enjoy this, maybe share it with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.
Stupid stuff.